So, welcome to episode 12 of season 4. If you just joined, this is Maria of Maria the Arcane on Instagram, and I'm joined by the lovely, our supreme, our Robin at a Tired Witch on Instagram.
The most wonderful person in all the world. Hello, everyone. I do need to start this episode by letting you know that I actually did not get to make the main segment. I had some personal stuff going on, which I'll talk about later in the episode. But we are joined today by the wonderful Mint Faery, who is going to talk to us a little later about fairies.
Yes, it was an amazing conversation.
Some great questions. I'm actually really bummed that I missed it. And as a reminder, on June 24th, we have a class on Patreon that will be hosted by Katie Webb, and it will be on paranormal investigation by using tarot, which is going to be so exciting. And that is available for anybody in the library tier and up. It will be hosted live, and it is kept on YouTube for anybody who really wants to see the class but actually cannot attend. So even if you can't make it, but it interests you, we can't wait to see you. Join us in the library tier, and you will have full access to that. If you just joined us this week, every week we talk about upcoming lunar phases and how you can utilize those for your magical practice. So, in relationship to when this episode comes out, the nearest one following is going to be on July 3rd. It is the full moon in Capricorn. And Capricorn full moons, I feel like, especially when we consider the fact that this is happening right after the solstice, this is a really good time to focus on things like that bring like fresh starts. Okay, so we are kind of putting our energies into manifesting like anything you have been working towards for it to be like finally like completed and realized and able to move on to the next stage of the chapter, right? Mm-hmm. So this is things like careers. If you want to put some magic into your job, this is a good time to focus on things like getting recognition that you want. So if you've been working towards a promotion at your work or anything like that, we're looking towards career, reputation, promotions, etc. I don't like using the word manifestation lightly, but I do feel like this is a really good full moon to like finish up any kind of like even just mental manifestations that you've been working on or things in general that you have been working towards to just get that recognition and step up that you want so we can move on to that next phase. I think it's a good closing up moon, if that makes sense.
Yeah. For me, I really like to use Capricorn full moons for stabilization, especially since we're heading into the, harvest season and all that, and things are going to start slowing down. Honestly, a Capricorn full moon during the summer is great because it's very grounding, like when things are go, 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 go. So I think using that to your advantage to kind of like center yourself and, think about where you might be getting too far up ahead of yourself and kind of like looking at what you need to dial back and like doing some major grounding in your goals and in your ambitions, especially heading into the colder months.
Totally. Yeah. I completely agree with you.
Thank you. So, if you just joined us for this episode or haven't listened to the other episodes so far this season, in lieu of choosing a card and discussing it like we have been doing the previous seasons, this time we're going through the whole different sections in tarot. Like we went over the minor arcana, the major arcana, and the different suits, and now we're going through the numbers. But anyways, this week we are discussing our thoughts on the sixes. So we passed the fives. were a challenge. The 6s show the choices we make to fight against the 5s or the results of the battle against them. Just like how the 3s showed the importance of community, the 6s do so as well. Some of these cards even show the healing journey after dealing with difficult situations so we can get back on track. On the cards like the 6 of Wands and the Swords, they show movement of choosing what is right for oneself. One shows a celebration of self, which is a 6 of Wands, and a 6 of Swords shows choosing what is right for like oneself isn't always easy. But in both, these cards are being supported and uplifted by community and within our choices. And speaking the importance of community once again and support, we also have the 6 of Pence and the 6 of Cups, which shows that sometimes we have to count on others in order to move forward. One for better, like this, the one for better, which is like the 6 of Cups, the other for worse, the 6 of Pence. Now, I only say for worse for the 6 of Pence because it is counting on someone financially or for goals that most of the time represents someone with power, someone who you aren't really emotionally connected to, that you just have to kind of, trust the contract you have with them, spoken or written.
Trust the process.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't screw you over and you got a good deal out of it. And then 2 of these cards show to me the healing process, which we see on like the 6 of Swords and Cups. The Sword shows that healing isn't always rainbows and sunshine. It is a process and a journey all on its own. While the Cup shows that healing sometimes can be enjoying and finding happiness in unconditional love, or even finding comfort in past memories. While sometimes bittersweet, at the end of the day, it is that sweetness that keeps us going. So how do you view these cards, Robin? I mean,
as always, I completely agree with you. I will say that I think that these cards in general, 6s in general, is all about giving and receiving. And that takes light in many different forms. So like you have the 6 of Swords, where it is like giving yourself the space of boundaries, giving yourself solace, peace, rest. And then you have like the 6 of Pentacles, where we are literally talking about charity, right? Giving, receiving, regardless of what end you're on. So there's kind of like that giving and receiving, both literal and metaphorical. And I just think in general, this suit is so much about support and how that kind of manifests and can translate in different aspects of our life. So
yeah, it's like a friend like offering you choices, like how can I best support you now, and hands you like all the 6s. Please choose
Here
one.
You go. I also think it's important to note that in all 4 cases, the 6s are not closed chapters. So while there is this support and there is this giving and receiving, it's not a done deal. Like just because we are getting the support, it is still showing the motion of moving forward, just better prepared. You know what I mean? It's not okay, everything's better now. It's okay, we're better armed, we're better prepared. So now where do we go?
Yeah. Okay, so I'm pretty sure we said this at the beginning of the episode, but Robin unfortunately could not join me today for the main segment, but I am not alone. I am joined by the lovely, our Prince Fae, our Fae Prince, sorry, Mint Faery.
Yes, hello. Thank you so much for having me again. I love being here.
Yeah, if you guys didn't know, I'm pretty sure it was our first season that we had Mint on. And I don't know, we love having Mint on. So we were like, we have to have Mint on again. So yeah.
Yeah, I love being here. I love doing this. Yes, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and include your social media handles.
Okay, well, hello everyone. I'm Mint, aka Mint Faery. I'm Mint Faery on everything. I think Tinkerbell Talk, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. I'm Mint Faery on everything. And so I am a 41-year-old eclectic witch that also works with the Fae and nature spirits. I'm a lover of love. I'm a promoter of love. I'm a storyteller, a peer counselor, and an all-around crazy maniacal troll. Yeah, that's my title, and I'm sticking to it. Miss Troll.
But seriously, if you haven't checked out Mint Faery, like all of their stuff is absolutely amazing and so feel good and all that, and yeah, amazing corner of the internet.
I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Of course. So, what are fairies for those who might not know, and how might they be different from what we see in pop culture?
Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so fairies, or the Fae, are otherworldly. When I say otherworldly, I don't mean a different world than our own. I just mean a world next to ours, beings that kind of exist or coexist with us in kind of a different space. They have different rules, they have different lifestyles, they have completely different moral codes. Everything is completely different. They are sort of like spirits that coincide with our world. Some of them take care of nature, some of them take care of different parts of the atmosphere, but basically they're kind of like people that live in a realm next to us that have just completely different wild lives, and they have gifts, and they have seemingly like powers, and they have these really interesting ways of living that differ from ours. Just super fascinating creatures. They're legendary. They go back hundreds of thousands of years to the beginning of what we know of as our time. You know, they were here before us, they'll be here after us. They're like earth spirits. They're the earth people, you know, and we are the people that landed on their earth. The way that they differ from the fairies that we see, the fairies that they put on like movies and TV and like books and stuff like that. Fairies that we have in fairy tales and books are very cute. They're sweet. You know, like Tinkerbell is I mean, I won't call Tinkerbell sweet. Let's be honest. She's not sweet. Okay. She's like a little sass bucket, but they definitely depict them in a really sweet light. You know, they definitely talk more about pixies in a way that are sweet, and they take care of flowers and plants, and they make nature grow, and they help the seasons change and stuff like that. And they're just very, very friendly in books and in movies, and they are not friendly in our world, you know. And they're not like, hey, let's go run through the field and you know, do really cute things. That's not what their lifestyle is like. They're not here to serve humans, you know. They don't have anything to do with serving people or making people's lives better. We are their parasites, you know. We have come to their planet, and we have you know, depleted resources, and we've taken out animals and entire species. So we are definitely their parasites, but they're not the way that they're depicted in movies. A lot of fairy tales do have very accurate depictions of fairies, but older ones for sure, like very old like legends and folklore. They'll have the depictions of fairies where they are very, very different than they are portrayed in, let's say, a Disney movie.
Let's be honest, Disney took a bunch of like really, really scary stories and made them very cutesy. So
yeah. Like most of this, I could go on and on about the different stories that they've taken lots of liberties and changing the entire setting and the plot and the characters. You know, a lot of these stories have a lot of death in them, and in like The Little Mermaid, they just take that out. They're like, oh no, she's alive.
That didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Yeah, I like what you said about us being parasites, because that's like we're their cockroaches. Like,
yeah, we keep coming back.
I think we're like that for like, all of Earth. Like, we're just, for any spirit or land guardian or anything, they're like, but you guys just need to go. yeah, seriously. Some people try their best to coexist with nature the way that we were supposed to, or quote unquote supposed to, but yeah, we definitely do a lot of harm, which makes it hard for any otherworldly creature, including animals who are worldly, to trust us. We're not very trustworthy when it comes to that sort of thing. So when you think of someone who isn't trustworthy, who wants to be a part of your space, like, how are you going to treat them? And as a fairy or as a fae creature, you don't have the same moral code as a human does, so you don't care. Like, you're gonna push them, you're gonna hurt them, you're gonna make them angry, you're gonna make them want to leave, And so that's a very common. I think that's a very common thing in lots of old folklore and fairy tales, is like the fae being tricky and mean and taking things from people, taking food, taking children, taking wives and stuff like that, because we're not worth it to them, Yeah.
We're the trouble that we cause is not worth it, so they're just messing with us,
Yeah. I don't blame them. They're just trying to survive, and here we are messing things up. But what made you interested in working with them?
I know. After all of that, why would I want to work with them? That's what everyone always asks me. After saying all that, why do you want to work with these? They hate us, and I'm like, you know what? No, well, because I don't want to hate it. I've told the story a million times, but I have a very old relationship with the Fae, where I dreamt about them for a very long time as a child, and it gave me really scary dreams, very terrifying dreams. One of the things that I like to make sure that people understand is not just the way that fairies are spoken about in Disney films and stuff like that. That's not the only difference. Their appearance is very different than what we think it is. They sometimes look kind of humanoid, but a lot of the time they look kind of scary. They look like what we would call demons or monsters. They have elongated lips. Sometimes they have those extra joints that insects have. Sometimes, they have. I'm getting visuals. They've got these sometimes long faces, sort of like praying mantis-like faces, with these huge eyes that are one color, solid, just pupil eyes. They can look very frightening if you're not used to seeing something that looks like that. They can also be incredibly beautiful, and they on these forms that are very appealing and very alluring. That's why we have all those stories of people being stolen away by the fairies, because they're beautiful in their difference, in their otherness, and they're exciting to want to be a part of and want to see, but they also have another side of them which they can reveal to you if they feel like it, that is just very scary, very scary. So that's something that I also I like to talk about a lot, because that's why for me as a young child they were terrifying to me, because they looked like monsters. They were bigger than I thought they were. Some of them have bark skin. They're very terrifying. So the reason why I started working with them was because having these dreams was so scary. I saw a therapist as a child, because I would wake up in the middle of the night every single night shrieking and running, like a maniac in my house. So my parents said,
poor baby man.
Yeah, you take your child to a therapist, after, and it was the 80s. So it took a while for them to decide that they should take me to a therapist. But once I did, I learned about lucid dreaming, and I learned about how to combat those fears of having these terrible night terrors. So I started working with myself in the way that I would be awake in my dreams. I would say, this is a dream. You are in control of it. What do you want to do about this situation? How do you want to fix this situation? situation. And of course, they would tell you, like, make them go away, tell them I'm the boss and stuff like that. And I was very meek as a child, I was very scared. So I would just go, I'm the boss or whatever. But I decided, and this is like a thing that I have done with nightmares throughout my entire life. If you can't beat them, join them, So I decided to become one of them. I decided to become one of them. And so it changed the nightmare into something that I was a part of. And it wasn't me being like stricken by this nightmare. I was scary too. I was also this like scary monster being. And once I became one of them or played as one of them, the relationship changed. It became more of a recognition of just otherness, but also the similarities that I found between the way that they looked and the way that they acted and the animals, plants, and other creatures of Earth. It was very similar. And I was like, okay, well, that's not scary. Flowers aren't scary. bugs aren't really scary. And once I dropped the fear aspect of it, I recognized that they had very similar, just like playful energy to like a mischievous child. And I was like, I kind of like that, And so because they were already so much a part of my life, I just decided that I would work with it. I would try to make it okay for me because I'm telling you, I was terrified. I was terrified of going to sleep. I didn't want to be terrified of going to sleep. So I did my best as a child to work with what I had. And as I got older, I maintained that relationship in a way where I continued to study about them and to learn about them, because what do you do when you're afraid of something? You learn about it. You try to understand it so that you can drop that fear, just like with human beings, if you're ignorant about something, you should learn about it so that you know how to live with it. So that's what I did. I continued to study them, and I had a lot of teaching from my family as well, because people don't know this very often, but fairies are a part of every culture. They're a part of every culture in the world. So the fairies that I learned about were the little people. They were just like smaller people who could change their size and shape, shapeshifters who weren't always malevolent. Sometimes they enjoyed being able to offer assistance to people who were pure of heart. And so my goal was to be the most pure of heart so that I didn't have a reason to be fearful, So that was basically the way that I started working with them, was just trying to be worthy of this encounter that showed that I was pure of heart, and so that was like my beginning stages of working with them. And then, I loved all of those little silly, like interesting stories of folklore about them, like messing with people and about them, like torturing men that were cheating on their wives and stuff. I was like, heck yeah, man, torture him, I was super into that. I was super into that. Mermaids, like drowning sailors, and so I was like, heck yeah, drown him, I was like, I liked that, I was also I was like a devotee of Artemis at a very young age. So I was like, heck yeah, dude. Like, let's do this. Let's get rid of these terrible people.
I'm so alone. I'm not alone. I really like those stories too growing up. Yes, so funny. So how do you think someone could start working with them, and like when do you think is the best time to do so?
I think the best time to start working with the Fae is when you know so much about them that you feel like you can talk with them without getting tricked. If you're someone who's they're very, very literal. They're very literal. So when you're talking about the Fae, you have to remember that they have a completely different lifestyle, a completely different moral code. Like, think about meeting someone from another country and how different your lives are just being from another country. Imagine meeting someone from another realm. Their entire makeup is completely different than ours. So you have to really learn about the way that they speak and the way that they comprehend what you're saying, because they don't have the same communication patterns that we do. So when you're speaking with them, you have to be very literal. You have to be very, very sure that your words don't have a double meaning or carry a double meaning, because whatever you say is what they're going to hear and what they're going to understand. So study. Do as much research as possible, especially when it comes to learning about like old old folk tales and stories from every culture. Don't dismiss stories that are about like, first thing that comes to my mind is a chupacabra, but think about all of those kinds of stories of like creatures that you are like, the Loch Ness monster, like anything, any cryptid that you're thinking of. Think about how much research you have to do to learn the ins and outs of it. Do that much research when it comes to the Fae, and decide whether or not you want to have a relationship with them, because the relationship is kind of like a contract and it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
So I definitely say do as much research as possible. There are some really great channels too that have a lot of information about them, and information about encounters that people have. I think is also really important to study and pay attention to, because they'll tell you what kinds of experiences they had and what to look out for. Because there are a lot of different ways that they can approach you, and usually, like I said before, they don't want to approach you with anything nice. They usually mess with people or decide to mess with people because of something that they've done or said that was disturbing to nature. So if you're someone that is very respectful with nature, with animals, with insects, plants, like everything that is natural, you have to be very respectful of before you can even decide that you're going to speak with them, because they're going to take all of that into account. They are everlasting beings. They remember everything. So if you stepped on a bug last week, they're going to be mad at you about it. You know what I mean? So you have to be very sure that you are on the correct path. And being pure apart is also
Yeah. Is there anything to be careful or wary of when working with them? Well, I think we kind of already answered this one, so we'll go ahead and go to the next one. But so what offerings do you recommend?
Ooh, okay. So when I talk about working with the Fae, I definitely recommend working with your house Fae first. If you have a house spirits, work with them first. Find out what they like. Depending on what culture you're from, you may have a different type of house spirit that resides within your home. Sometimes they are attached to a family more than attached to a space. But if they are attached to their space, find out what people are indigenous to your area and find out what their folklore is. When you find out what that folklore is, that'll help you to decide which offering you can give. So say you're living, so I'll take myself, for example. I live in Delaware. And I'm lucky enough to live on Lenni Lenape land, and my mother was Lenni Lenape. So when I'm giving offerings here, I decide on what I'm going to give based on what delicious, like homemade, handmade foods they would enjoy from this area. So I'm very particular about giving food that is organic, something that is made by me. Things that are made by technology, like blenders and plug-in appliances, they're not too keen on. So if you're going to cook for them, cook in your oven or give them something that you can make without having to cook. They definitely prefer things that are made without technology. Technology is like to them, except for ovens. Ovens have always been something that they've enjoyed. I think because baked goods are very they have an energy of their own. Receiving a baked good is like receiving a hug. So I think baked goods have a very different energy for them. But yeah, bread, milk, like the best of what you eat, give it to them. You know what I mean? Like if you have like a plate of delicious food and they're like, ooh, I'm going to save the carrots for last because they're honey glazed and yummy. Give them some of those honey glazed carrots. Don't give them something that's like a scrap. Don't give them your leftovers, because that's kind of disrespectful when you think about it, and like, of course, scraps for anyone else, it may not be disrespectful, but for them, it's like, why are you giving me your trash? I don't want your leftover chewed up doo-doo food. Like, give me the best thing, doo-doo food. Give me something that you are excited to eat. Show me that you are respectful of me by giving me something that I would enjoy, that you would enjoy. So like that sort of thing is really a really nice offering. I often give offerings of my service. That's one of the offerings that I give the most. And that's me cleaning up after nasty, dirty people leaving trash outside.
Oh, that's so important.
Yeah,
so important.
Yes, cleaning up garbage is really important to me. Planting plants, sowing seeds is really important to me. And I don't do it anywhere that I know they're going to get mowed up. That's also something that I think is really important. If you're going to plant plants for the day, plant them in a place that they're not going to be destroyed. So I like to go into the forest and plant them. If there's an area where I can see that maybe it was like super dry or it needs some water, go out and water plants. Like go out and give things to nature that you know it needs. Go and throw some like natural fertilizer in the forest. You know what I mean? Like doing a service for the Fae is something that speaks louder than words. It speaks louder than anything else because you're giving up your time for something that you think is worthy of it. And time is something that is incredibly important to people because we're so finite and they are not. So if we're giving them our time, that's like the ultimate offering. It's the ultimate sacrifice because we only have so much time as humans. So I think it's really important to give them their time. And also your love, you know, play with animals, play with children, indulge children in their fantasies, you know, write stories, create poetry, create art. They are such lovers of art. That's something that humans can do that they are fascinated by. So singing, dancing, expressing yourself creatively is such a beautiful gift to give to the Fae because they're like, wow, they don't do that the way that we do it. You know, they don't have the same kind of like weird hands and like, you know, voices that we do. They have things that are just of beauty. They just are of beauty and humans are not. So when when a person can create something so beautiful out of what we have, as limited as we are, it's a beautiful and like a romantic sort of gift, a romantic and very worthy offering is an offering of your creativity.
Yeah. Love that. So, some witches live in cities and want to work with fairies. Do you have any recommendations for our city dwelling witches?
I do. There's a book that I have. It's called Believing in Fairies, Fairies, a manual for grown-ups. And it was a book that was given to me by a mentor, probably like, I don't know, how old was Yule? Yule was 8, so it was probably like 5 years ago. And it's about people, it's real encounters of people who live in cities who have had fairy experiences, because it is, you can have definitely fairy experiences living in a city. It's one of those misconceptions that they only stay in natural areas, and of course that's where they would rather be, but there are some Fae that really enjoy the different kind of atmosphere of city life. They're interested in it and they feed off of energy, so there's a lot of energy in the city. So there are some Fae that like to be in that space just to kind of discover and explore and understand what we're doing there. If there are any natural areas in the city, that's where they're probably going to congregate. That's probably where they're going to meet each other. Solitary Fae do enjoy, walking through cities and seeing what's going on there. If you have plants in your house, they're going to want to be near you. If you are someone that has pets, cats are always an interesting thing to have with the Fae because they have really interesting relationships with cats. Sometimes they love them, sometimes they hate them. But yeah, having plants.
So they're cats themselves.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Sometimes, yes, literally. Yeah, sometimes they love them, sometimes they hate them. I think that they are very similar in energy, and that's why they have that kind of relationship. They're very similar in that, like, you can pet me right now. Okay, stop. I don't want any more pets. That's how they are. Like, yeah, you can see me right now. Okay, stop. I'm over you. I don't like you anymore. They're very similar in that. But yeah, like having plants in your house really helps. Inviting them to your space also helps if you live in the city, but make sure that when you do that, you're very careful of who you're inviting, what kind of Fae you're inviting. That's why research is so important. But yeah, having natural spaces in your home really helps to draw them in. And like I said, being creative in your home, painting, drawing, singing, windows open, allowing your spirit to kind of drift out of your space is something that draws them in. You can 100% work with Fae living in a city. You don't have to have trees everywhere. You can just have that space in your home that has little natural bits. And also research is one of those things that sparks them as well. If someone's like learning about them, they're kind of interested in why you're doing that. So they want to know what's up with that. You know, why are you learning about me? Like, imagine if someone was just like reading your autobiography and you're like, why? Like, what are you getting out of it? Like, what? What do you want to know? Yeah, like, what do you want to know? Why? So it's something that like makes them interested. You know, they're like, what's okay? Well, let's see, we'll check that out. But yeah, there are so many people. Like, one of the stories in here, someone was just walking down the street, and you know how buildings will have landscapers come and plant flowers and stuff like that outside of the building. Like, that's the only bit of nature that's in that city area, you know, the planted flowers. But fairies still go to those areas, see how they're being taken care of. Landscapers are some of fairies' like favorite people because they cultivate these spaces. Even though they don't really enjoy manicured anything, they do have respect for people that can and will help things to grow, you know? And so that's something that they're very interested in and like being around and seeing. Nurturing in general is going to draw them in as well. Nurturing in general. If you nurture or take care of anyone or anything, and you do that with love in your heart, no matter where you are, that's going to be a glow. It's going to be a light, and people in the Fae will see that and they'll say, what's that? Who's glowing over there? Let me check them out. You become a curiosity when you're a lover, because love is one of the things that research tells me. Love is one of the things that they don't have. They don't quite understand. So when you're someone who loves, they're like, what is that about? How can I get some of that? You know?
Cute and wholesome. So what are some resources you recommend for witches who are interested in working with fairies?
So I have a ton of books. I do have a couple of videos on my channel about books for working with the Fae. I definitely recommend reading, what is it called? The Fairy Faith in Celtic Countries. Bits of folklore from lots of other countries are going to have a lot of information about the Fae in their space. They may not call them the Fae. Remember that every country has different languages. Fairies in other cultures aren't called fairies. You know, they have different names because that culture has a different language. And so they have a different type of folklore for each creature that resides in their folklore, but it is still a part of the same realm. So there are lots of books about like elementals, and lots of books about just like cryptids and different interesting like secret things that come up that will still have information about the Fae, just not called the Fae. But where I have a ton of books over here. I'm like looking at them. There's the Magick of Fairies is a really good one. There's also the Fairy Bible, which is very simple. It's one of those like chunky Bible books. You know, it's the Crystal Bible. You know, there's like the Signs and Symbols Bible, it's a Spells Bible, and there's a Fairy Bible, and that's one of my favorites just because it's like a bestiary. It lists different types of Fae from different cultures, as well as what element they rule or what element they belong to, and it just gives you a little bit of an idea about their behaviors, what they do, where they live, and it's really interesting. I really like reading it every once in a while. I'll just go through and read it again because it does have so much information. It's a great beginner book. It's a great starter book. Very referencey, but still very good. Man, there are tons of books just called Fairy Magic. I definitely recommend reading literally anything you can get your hands on, because all of these accounts are going to have information from different perspectives, and so that it'll help you to understand the broad spectrum that is Fae, you know. And one thing I will say that I think is really important, just because someone's information contradicts someone else's does not mean it's incorrect. It doesn't mean that their experience was wrong, or it doesn't mean that their experience wasn't real. It just means that they had a different experience. You know, everyone's experiences with the Fae they're going to be very different, because they're the way that you speak and the way that you understand things is different than everyone else. So they definitely cater their visits sometimes to the person that they're visiting, or to the person that they're you know, bothering, I'll say. Because they have reasons for doing what they do. You know, they have different reasons for encountering a person. So there are lots of different ways that that one can have an encounter with a fairy. There's a channel called, my favorite YouTube channel, I love her. It is Scary Fairy Godmother, and she actually just wrote a book, and I'm really excited about it. But she is such a great YouTuber. She talks about people's true fairy encounters, and she also tells fairy stories, and she talks about fairies and folklore all around the world, and she's a wonderful resource. She narrates people's encounters, and some of them are just terrifying, just absolutely terrifying. I love it. I love listening to them when I'm in the car driving alone at night, because it's just thrilling to listen to scary stories. Like,
well, that's one way to stay awake while driving.
I love it. I love listening to her while I'm driving. It's people are always like, why do you want to listen to scary things while you're driving at night? And I'm like, because it's fun. It's just fun. It's so fun. But it's also Fairy Wicca, which, even if you're not Wiccan, there are two books. There's Fairy Wicca, and there's the Fairy Wicca 2, I guess, and they have a lot of information on how to work with the Fae, and what to do, like how to word things, and there's like a lot of references in there for you to explore more books and stuff like that. They're really good books. Honestly, even though they are titled Fairy Wicca, anyone can use them. Anyone can use the information in them. Mm-hmm. And like I said before, I'm reading everything you can get your hands on. It's just going to broaden your horizons. It's just going to give you more of a well-rounded education instead of just a one-sided education about the fairies, you know?
Yeah.
It's really important to just
agree.
Yeah, read everything. You know, I'm always like, just read it all, because there's always going to be something that slips through the cracks for one person, but is the shining beacon of light for another person.
Exactly. I think that's with magic in every single sense. But yes. I think that's all the time we have today. Do you want to give everyone your socials one more time so they know how to get a hold of you?
Yes. So, Mint Faery on Instagram, Mint Faery on TikTok, Mint Faery on YouTube. Ooh, am I on anything else, really? Those are my three mains, you know? I also have an Etsy shop. It's mintcoven.etsy.com. If you are someone who is interested in having like a fairy reading, which is one of my favorite things to do. If you want to know if you have fae in your area, or you want to know if any of your guides are like fae adjacent, I also give fairy readings. You can email me at mintsiegel@gmail.com, mintsiegel@gmail.com. And yeah, that's about it.
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to have you on again, maybe next time with Robin too. But yes, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you for having me. All right.
So, Maria, what's stirring your cauldron this week?
Oh, let me tell you. So I might have already done this, like, I don't know, in the years past, but like, there is nothing more comfy, cozy than like setting, well, to me, some people's version, like any version of studying, especially students, active students. I'm 35, so I can make,
she's very old. It's so sad.
I am. So I can make studying cozy and fun. And I'm doing it for me. So, but I don't know, just like the whole atmosphere of like studying at a cafe. Like, I'm talking about like our magic books and stuff like that. Like, and just, I get out my iPad and I do like all my like little notes, which is why like it takes me a year and a day to read through a book, because I'm like record everything, and then I try to make it super pretty by finding photos that go with the theme of the book that I'm reading. But I highly recommend, like, if you have problems studying, to go, especially if you're at home. Like, if you're like me, I get like super distracted at home by everything that I need to do and I need to get done. You know, there's some dishes that needs to get done. There are other things that needs to get done, like the vacuuming. But or if you have littles, like we all know how they could be all time consuming, but
fingerprints on everything.
Yeah. Just being at a cafe where like a lot of other people are like doing the same thing.
Mhm.
It's like the whole sense of like, you know, it's that energy that like you're supplying to, like people are supplying to you and you're supplying it back that you're all studying. And it's like, I don't know. I really love it. It's cozy and I will drink my weight in coffee. Like no problem.
Yeah. I mean, I hate studying, but I do feel like if you have a passion for studying, or not studying, for something, it makes studying easier. So like, I don't really consider reading witchy books studying. I know it is, but like, I don't consider it that way.
I think it's just the note-taking aspect. I don't think that like, I really considered studying until I started writing down everything.
Yeah.
Then it felt like more like studying. Yeah.
Get the highlighters out.
It's fun. Yeah. And I think like I went through so many years of having super intense brain fog and bad brain days that now that I'm like, I need to learn everything and even learn things over again because I'm rereading books that I read during my bad brain fog years, and it's just nice to pick them up and not have to read the same sentence like 5 times to comprehend it, and to take notes because I'm taking notes because not because I'm not comprehending it and just writing out helps me comprehend it better, but instead I'm doing it to remember. So that's nice.
Yeah.
So, Robin, what is not stirring your cauldron this week?
I'm glad you asked.
I say this from recording on my bed.
So the reason I was not here for the main segment was because I'm house sitting and one of their cats got out.
That's like a house sitting, like worst nightmare scenario.
And I am a very sane, logical, and emotionally balanced person. Therefore, I'm not a Cancer at all. I spent the whole time crying and being a psychopath. I was like on my hands and knees in like neighbors' yards to see if they had like gaps in the fence that the cat could have gotten through to like have this trail, because all the fences are really tall. The cat could not have climbed it. The cat's also an indoor cat and overweight. Like climbing fences is just not on the thing. So it's like she would have had to have gotten through holes. So I'm like first of all, I'm in a very nice neighborhood. I look how I look. And I'm like, hi, this is not a robbery. I really did lose my cat. The next door neighbor, bless them, we're making them cookies tonight. I had to ring their doorbell at like 12:30 at night. And I'm like, I know we've never met before. And I know this is going to sound totally crazy. And I totally understand that you're not comfortable letting me in your backyard because I know you're going to say no, but there's a cat back there. And it was just like, it was a whole thing. It's been horrible, but we have resolved. The cat has returned. Literally this morning. So, but yeah, that has been a very stressful few days. I did a lot of crying. Yeah.
I like how she stuck to her property.
Yeah, literally. So she was at the top of the property. We found a hole in the fence, which will be repaired. But there's a hole in the fence. And on the other side of the fence is this super overgrown, super thick bramble bush that is, without exaggeration, like 10 foot by 10 foot. It is so thick that we had our friends come over to help us with the cat. And Frank and our friend Kevin were, without exaggeration, a foot away from each other. They couldn't see each other. Like, that's how thick the bramble bush was. And so we're looking for a cat in a bush that two grown men cannot see each other in. It was anyway. So it's been crazy. The whole week was crazy. I have been very distraught, but we got the cat back. So that's all that matters.
Yeah. And I like how you caught her, like in a raccoon.
In a raccoon trap with sardines. So first of all, massive shout out to the people at Feral Change in Oakland. Love you. They gave us a trap, and she, like, Kristen at Feral Change, like, walked me through how to do the entire cage, how to do it. And I, like, had a piece of cardboard on the bottom so that way she wasn't, like, discouraged by the wire floor.
Yeah.
And I, like, had, like, sardine juice that I, like, dribbled, like, little trail to the back. And it was so funny. Like, we couldn't get her out, right? Within 10 minutes of getting the sardine cage set up, we had her on camera. Now, she didn't actually get trapped till about 3:45 in the morning. But yeah, it was a wild few days.
Oh,
but it's all better now. We've got her. We've got her. My big thing is imagine being, so the homeowners are in another country. Imagine being 6,000 miles away and getting a text message first thing in your morning being like, hey, text me, we have a situation here. And it's that your cat is missing. Like, horrible.
Oh no.
We got her back.
I felt so bad for you. Like, Robin kept sending me photos of, like, cat eyes flashing and, like,
the morning she got out, or
food dishes that the cat would be like, oh, I'll eat,
and but then... I'm going right back to my bush.
Oh no.
So, yeah,
I'm so sorry.
No, I'm just glad we got her back. Like, that's what I get. This is what I get for being chilly and wanting a coat and being half awake. This was my own fault. Oh well, she's back. If you've just joined us this week, every week we talk about shops, creators, artists, books, whatever that we're loving right now. These are not paid advertisements. These are organic finds. In this season, we have had a third creator, which is submitted by you guys. These are our listener choices. So if you have somebody that you really want to shout out, a shop or creator, artist, whatever, that you think is doing something really amazing, be sure to email us, DM us, or even answer our prompts in our stories on Instagram to get it out there. So that being said, Maria, who are you digging right now?
So my person is actually, like, she was on the Great British Baking Show. I forgot what year, but she was like a gothic queen that, of course, Noel loved.
I remember her. As soon as you said that she was like a goth baker, I was like, I know who you're talking about.
But it's Helena Garcia, and her Instagram, like, she still, of course, does her little, like, spooky bakes and stuff like that. But now, like, she's branched off where she does, like, a bunch of crafting stuff, and she has, like, My Mummy is a Witch book out, and I don't know, all of her stuff is so cute, and I want to own it all. Like, she even has this cute witch beach hat that's like the shape of a witch hat and stuff like that I really, really want, and like a little cauldron picnic bag, like, so cute and
so good.
Yeah, like, she's definitely found her niche, and screw the Great British Baking Show for like being
for
like,
not adoring her for every single thing that she did.
I'm serious. Like, they were like, this is a little creepy.
Oh my god! But you know what? Paul
like,
Hollywood can literally suck me. After this last season, when he said that the conchas were too dry and flavorless, I was like, my brother in Christ, have you ever had one? You're telling people that their shit is not flavorful enough and that it's dry. That is literally the point. They're made for dipping in coffee. Like, anyway, his opinions are garbage.
But yeah, I highly recommend checking out her stuff because her store is cute and she has a ton of cute books out. But anyways, who you been digging?
So I actually got sent this from a friend. The company is called Sunnyfoxapothecary, and they do hats, okay? But the hats have like these little cathedral cutout pieces on them, where they've got like, I think it's plastic or something. Like I don't, maybe it's resin, I'm not certain, but it gives like a stained glass effect through the brim of the hat. And it is so cool. The cathedral window ones, like I love them conceptually. I think that in actual wearing, it would be a sensory nightmare for me personally. But they have other ones that are like lunar phases. And like there's a really cool one that's like a butterfly or a moth or something like that. And I'm like, yep, I want that. I'm not even a hat girly and I want that.
Yeah, these are really cute. What a fun idea. I would never have thought of that. 2
episodes in a row I've talked about hats.
Oh, are we on a new thing instead of ceramics?
Am I a hat girl now?
Yeah.
Well, the last one I said I wasn't a hat girl and then it ended up looking just great on me. So maybe I'll get this one. I don't know. Maybe I'm a hat girly now.
Yep. You found out about the hat stretcher and now you're like, you know what? I'm on board.
My big fat head.
It's okay. I have one too, so we're fine.
So our listener choice is actually an Etsy. They're called MoonSerpentJewelry, and it is so cool. Like if you go to their Etsy, I think it's pinned. They have a Baba Yaga pendant that is one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. It's like a silver house, but then the legs are like brass.
Yeah.
Or like brass looking, I guess. So cool. Like really, really cool. So that was amazing.
And I really like their mandrake pendants and stuff like that. It's really cute.
I'm like so glad that someone submitted this because it's so neat. Ugh.
I wonder if they do make their own jewelry because that's really impressive.
It looks like they do. Like
it does.
The quality, that doesn't look like something that they're drop shipping. That's really cool and unique.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for joining us today. We hope that you will join us again on Friday, June 30th for our Coffee Talk episode, or July 7th for the 13th episode of Season 3. And also it'll be right after my birthday, so you should listen to Wish Me a Happy Birthday anyway. You can keep an eye out on our social media or head to our website, coffeeandcauldrons.com, to find out more information and see what we're up to. And don't forget to join us on Patreon June 24th with Katie Webb on Using Tarot for Paranormal Investigation. This is available for the library tier and up, and if you miss it, it will be available immediately on YouTube.
And additionally, our Patreon Magical Beginnings offers a special 25-minute part 2 episode, a huge library of articles about witchcraft, a Discord community full of fun events like spells, meditations, a book club. I mean, we have a lot. Yeah. And of course, we have our amazing discussions. And we even have a tier that offers one-on-one conversations with Robin and myself. And by the way, if you have signed up for that, please check your messages. We have been reached out to, but no one's gotten back to us. We have reached out
to several people actually, and nobody's getting back to us. Simultaneously, if you are in a tier that includes the Discord and you can't connect, please reach out to us so we can help you, because you're paying for this and we want you to have it.
Yes.
And please, if you are loving our sexy, sensual voices, take a moment to review us on whatever streaming service that you are tuning in from, such as Apple Podcasts or Spotify. We love reading your reviews, and rating us with 5 stars helps us to be seen by others. So thank you for everybody who already has and everybody who will in the future. We really appreciate you.
Again, this is Coffee and Cauldrons
with Robin from At a Tired Witch on Instagram.
And I'm Maria from @Maria the Arcane on Instagram. You ready?
Yeah. Ready?
Okay.
1, 2, 3,
5 witches.